Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to start by warmly welcoming all of you that are present here today, especially those that traveled from outside Brussels and Belgium to be here in the BBI JU Info Day for the 2019 call. We are beyond and happy to see more than 700 registrations for today, and more important, 74% of you attend an Info Day for the very first time. It is a clear indication of the strong interest for the BBI JU activities and for the bio-based industry in general. For this afternoon, 830 meetings are already scheduled for more than 1,300 requests. I should not forget to also extend our welcome to those that are watching us via the live broadcasting. I'm looking at the camera. My colleagues a few minutes ago informed me that we have already 150 viewers logged online. But before starting, allow me to provide you with some housekeeping information. Please note, first, like mentioned before, we are broadcasting live via internet. After the end of our Info Day, the recordings will also be available for download from the BBI JU website. Second, for those of you online, you can send us any question that you might have, and we will answer them during the Q&A sessions. And please use the hashtag BBI Info Day when communicating via Twitter. You have it on the screen. All of us at BBI, as well as our founding partners, the European Commission and BIC, the Bio-based Industry Consortium, are more than ever convinced that our vision for a competitive and sustainable Europe, leading the transition towards the post-petroleum era, is also your vision. Our vision for bringing together pan-European and cross-sector industries, SME, research organizations, universities, regions and countries is also your vision. We are all here today because we truly believe that Europe is capable and deserves to have its own bio-based sector, its own sustainable bio-based economy. A competitive and sustainable bio-based economy that creates true value for European citizens. The experience has shown us that by working together, hand in hand, we succeed in achieving a portfolio of projects that delivers high socioeconomic and environmental impact to our continent. Now, I want to share with you a few numbers to help you come closer to the BBI reality. Numbers always make things clear. The total number of our beneficiaries is now 933 from 32 countries, and they operate in 82 projects with a total funding of around 900 million euro. Here I'm talking about the 82 granted projects. Very soon, in coming weeks, it will reach more than 100 projects ongoing. All but 2 member states are represented as beneficiaries in our portfolio, and we have expanded beyond the EU to include countries such as Iceland, Norway, Serbia, Switzerland, Israel, North Macedonia, Turkey, and Faroe Islands are beneficiaries in our projects. We have already in our portfolio of projects 7 flagship projects. The initial objective of the initiative was 5. We have already 7. The socio-economic impact of those flagship biorefineries deployed at large scale is huge. It's first of all about jobs, 3,000 direct jobs, more than 10,000 indirect jobs. It's also about investment. The total grant in flagship from BBI is 159 million euro. But the industry invests more than 1 billion euro to build those biorefineries. And it's also about deployment. As you will see later in the presentation of today, they are well spread across Europe, north, west, east, south. Those flagship biorefineries exploit very different business models, also offering a perspective of high replicability potential, because they are the first of the kind, and what we hope is to have a lot of sister brothers and cousins. We can only say that we do pretty well here, but I should say you do pretty well. Two main positive effects that BBI JU brought about are again confirmed. The first positive effect is the evident structuring effect in organizing the value chain across sectors and across geographies. Sectors that were not cooperating. We all know that bio-based industry is characterized by a very strong fragmentation. The second positive effect is the innovation-driven mobilizing effect of all key stakeholders of the different segments of the value chain. In addition to those key aspects, other achievements of our public-private partnership have been accomplished. Effectiveness in implementation, significant private sector participation, I will come back on it, an impressive SME participation. 41% of the beneficiaries in BBI are SMEs, where the target of Horizon 2020 is 20. It's not only important for the statistic, it's important because SME, they play a key role in building the value chain. Very often they are the technology provider, but being part of BBI project is also a huge opportunity for a lot of them to scale up their technology, get access to the market, and get the credibility, which is sometimes difficult to reach alone. University, academia, and research center have also a strong presence in our portfolio. 30% of our beneficiaries are university and research center. So BBI is an industry-driven initiative, sure, but there is also a lot of room for academia and research center, and they play a key role in the initiative. We are committed to continue working with the same dedication for our 2019 and 2020 calls. Today it's 2019, the discussion. But I must also say a few words about the future of BBI under Horizon Europe, the next framework program. In the past year, and specifically past months, we had important developments in the area of the bioeconomy, that is the big umbrella under which we exist and operate. Bioeconomy is our home. Last year, we had the adoption of the new bioeconomy strategy, and here I would like to congratulate Mr. John Bell and his directorate, together with the EC services, for the superb work they did in delivering it. This strategy gave a clear signal on the need to scaling up and strengthening the bio-based sector, a clear signal of the future of our sector, because, and as in all industrial sector, a stable legal framework and predictability is beyond needed. The interinstitutional agreement of Horizon Europe was concluded just a few weeks ago. There we have the very important reference on a partnership in the area number 5 that agrees for sustainable, inclusive and circular bio-based solution. And cluster 7 is about bioeconomy, food, natural resource, agriculture and environment. That gives a positive signal for the future. But for sure, John will certainly come back on that. I spoke for the initiative taken by the European Commission, and I must also refer to our private partner. BIC, the Bio-Based Industry Consortium, consistently managed to mobilize actors in the sector far beyond their own members. Only recently, their Vision 2050, signed by 15 strategic European organizations covering the whole value chain from primary sector to end use, signed this document, which is the signal for the next generation of bio-based industries in Europe. A vision that is absolutely vital in order to take the bio-based sector in its 2.0 era. But on that, I will not elaborate more because we have with us Alex Michine. Alex is CEO of Metgen. He is also a member of the BIC and BBI governing board, and he will be the voice of the industry today. Believe me when I say that if the European Commission, BIC and BBI JU have managed to achieve this result, it is again also because of you all. Because you and your innovative ideas, your expertise, your passion, your commitment, your ambition are the keys to unlocking the potential of the bio-based industry and develop a competitive and sustainable bio-based sector in the Union. But I believe most of you here today, directly or indirectly, are interested in taking part to our call 2019. And without any doubt, many of you are hoping to become a BBI project participant. I believe that I can speak on behalf of all of us in BBI JU and tell you that we are looking forward to a very useful and productive day. And here I would really like to thank some people. First of all, Anna Costa from BBI team. Anna, it's a bit her day today. And also Ivona Lerman, who recently joined us as a communication officer. Please stand up. Wonderful job. And I would like also to thank the whole BBI team, and in particular the program office team, the team of Eleni Sika, for the organization of this day. I stand up as well. So, with no further ado, I am delighted to open the conference by giving the floor to our three keynote speakers, whom I want to warmly thank for their presence here today and their support, and more than the support, and the contribution to the initiative in the last year. First of all, Mr. Lambert van Nistelrooij, member of the European Parliament, coordinator of the Regi Committee, and if he allows me to say, he is the parliamentary father of BBI JU. Mr. John Bell, the Director of Bioeconomy at the Directorate General for Research and Innovation of the European Commission, and Alex Michine, CEO of Metgen. Metgen is a Finnish SME participating already in 5 BBI JU funding projects. So if you need tips and tricks, you know the right people to talk to. As I already said, Alex is also representing the big and the bio-based industry consortium. Mr. van Nistelrooij, it is an honor to have you here with us today. And after 15 years of service in the European Parliament, me personally and my team, we would like to wish you the very best in your future endeavor, whatever these are. You have been instrumental in establishing the BBI JU, and no words are enough to thank you for your work and contribution. And now, the floor is yours.
So, thank you, Philippe. Let me first say, all in the family. Welcome to Brussels, quite a way, and to get into and to get in this building, because this is for some of you the first visit to this consortium, to this initiative. What can I do today? I will, in fact, try to share your experiences, to encourage when necessary, to feel your inspirational and entrepreneurial spirit, and connect and learn. Being a Dutch member of European Parliament from the EPP group, in fact, I can say we always already for years have felt the strength and the potential of bio-based economy. But it's a European-wide story now, and from my experience, this is exactly the promise that we have, that we will make this new world, bio-based circular economy. And for today, I will give just some political, some more societal remarks at the beginning of this conference. Because it's really important that it's not just a technical program, a financing program, but it is a movement of industries, of public authorities, local communities, regions, member states that commit to make this thing happen. It's not a little part that should shine, but it's the whole chain who has to take up and to give the really importance of what we are doing. So I will give, in fact, 3 or 4 signals about the policy, about the uptake as I see it, about funding, and about visibility. All in the family, but all in the building doesn't bring anything, because today you are all in the bubble. But we have to touch the citizens. the buyers of products, the political people in regions and cities. So about this, three things, three signals today. Thank you for inviting me. Of course, that's important. Bio-based strategy, first and for all. I think that without doubt, European Commission, this Juncker Commission with Timmermans, also a Dutchman, made this move into an integrated policy. And there we stand now with a lot of opportunities, sustainable bioeconomy to make it happen and to show how things are really in the transition to this more sustainable economy. You can make it, absolutely. And the tool of this public-private partnership, you know, policy making is wonderful. That are usually people in Brussels, in politics. But make it happen, you need the full commitment of knowledge institutes, universities, companies, and also this together in the ecosystem, as we say. If you have one winner, if you have, for instance, like a football match, Nistelrooij, you know, I'm related to a cousin of mine. But if you win one match, but you lose the rest, where are you? It's having the colleagues, it's playing the ball forward to someone who's even better than you to make the results together. Sharing knowledge in this bio-based approach is necessary. And also these signals that are brought now about plastics, to forbid this part of this plastics as such, but also to have new ways forward with bio-based. You know, the Avantium bottle that is now used by Coca-Cola, they were developed in the last years, 10 years of research and rolling out and trying, and now they built. For Coca-Cola, we'll use it. The factory, not in the Netherlands, where it was developed, but it is in Antwerp. So you feel cross-border in Belgium. So step by step, the bio-based economy will grow and take position. But it's up to you, because making these materials, offering alternatives, is a process of trial and error. It's a part of the solution, not the whole solution, but it's really, I believe it, and we have to back the front runners, and many of you are. The policy ongoing after the elections, without doubt, in the same direction. My second remark, that's on the uptake as such. I'm very glad to see that what it started, in fact, in the EU 15, very often these old member states, as we called them maybe, that the take-up is now also in the new member states. And this is extremely important, politically important. Because what happens is, in fact, that a lot of rural areas in the Union, where young people live, where you see depopulation, there is a need for new economy. There's also a need to use the potential of agricultural production, forestry, and the daily life changes. And Europe is, in fact, politically, we need now the engagement of Eastern European regions stronger. And even you see that populism, that growing nationalism, comes forward when they say, is this the world that was promised in Europe when young people leave and come back with a big Mercedes, and they say to the other, hey, loser, why don't you go to Germany? Or no. You understand that bio-based economy is extremely important to keep Europe balanced, not only in the circular economy, but in the really political situation. And this is what we feel, and where you, coming from all those regions, are really important. My third point. Third point is about being one of those negotiators, and I feel a little bit like, yeah, you said, what did you say? Okay, the father or whatever, one of those who are very close. And in fact, if I see in 5 years' time what you did, you made it take off, and I see you like the latest Airbus, with so much knowledge in it. But what is now in Europe absolutely necessary is the landing strip. Because if you fly with knowledge and you give it away to the Chinese or to the Brazilians, or I don't care, the innovation in the real economy, growth and jobs is what we need. And there, I think that is really important that we make this use of the money of research, like we did in the next upcoming call. But I must say that the landing strip is also in much more money, some 380 billion for the next upcoming 7 years, in the regional development funds. And they are looking to this higher TRL levels of knowledge to implement, to make it happen, to scale up initiatives that are taken in the bio-based economy. And this is the point that is agreed, is already preparing now between member states and the Commission for 2020 and the 7 years later. And there we need this scaling up. We need this kind of, let me say, success at the regional and national level. This will be agreed in a partnership agreement with the member states. They are not obliged to do this and that, but to reach goals. And the way you reach your goals, this is a national agreement for 7 years. And why for 7 years? Because if you don't do that, and there is a new government in Romania, let me say, just a country, and of course a new government puts away all the old projects and take new projects. This is the way sometimes it happens. That the signature of the member state for the co-financing and the agreement, because if you work with banks and you work with partners, private partners, you cannot change it like you did in the past. New government, new politics, and big fights and big problems in existing programs. For 7-year agreement, and you should be in. The second thing I want to say is the so-called Juncker plan. Now it's called, for the next period, EU Invest. There we, with our European money, we don't give subsidies, but we give via the European Investment Bank and others, we give guarantees and loans for things that have to be developed on the longer term to be profitable, maybe after 5 or 10 years. A bank doesn't come in. We take a part of the risk to make this flowing, to make this going. So this will be more than 600 billion that is brought into the European economy, and there is not a point to say it should go to the bio-based or to that part of Europe, but it is up to the quality of the projects. So don't just look down to your shoes to say, how can I perform, but also look up to the environment to foster and to make your scale up happen. My last remark, because I feel the pressure in my shoulders. Lambert, your quarter of an hour. I didn't get a signal yet. About the visibility. About the visibility, because there is a big, this is in fact a European disease. Wonderful things in the bubble, and sometimes some drops come down. But who knows? And this is something also behind the Brexit, what I saw. You know, for instance, Liverpool. I'll give you one example, just another example, other world. Liverpool was neglected by London. Yes? And it's now a cool, hip city to go for a city trip. By European money, Regional Development Fund. Neglected by London, they were not touched. Who stood up to say, this is our European mission, this is our European way of working, this is the way we create future and quality of life? No one did. And if we are so lousy, put our hands in the pocket and don't stand up. Oh, I don't blame you. but I give just an example. What I want to get you in this BBI, what I want is a partnership from the beginning. It takes two to tango. Not just give you some money and say bye-bye. No, we are in the process. And that's why European Commission has now formulated missions. What do we want to reach? What do we want to be in this part of the world? And the first, not give these big things in a high speed on the Chinese. So we need a partnership. And this is what we never did. Europe never said that, okay, we are both in the process, and I want to know from you after 3 or 4 or 5 years where you stand, and to communicate about this by social media, by blogs, by having visitors groups, whatever you want to do. So this is something we have to do, because citizens don't hear about it. It's all hocus pocus of research somewhere. No, it's a commitment and a way to go. So visibility is important, partnership is the way to do it, and we have to facilitate, and I brought amendments in the financial regulation that after a project, 5 years, you can get voluntary European money to communicate. Because structural changes are working in a structural way years later for your enterprise to grow and whatever. So now my time is over, but you feel, what did I do? Personally, I made, together with my wife in the Netherlands, an exhibition. It was land art, and you can see it on the web. And we brought materials, we gave it to artists, and they made creatures, and 4 kilometers walk, etc. We did it for 10 years. We got more than 10,000 citizens a year. And what they usually said, wonderful, but where can I buy it? What is the quality? What is it? Is it bio-based or not? Is it degradable? We live in a European land of labels that's quite confusing for citizens. And there we have to work also. We can do it. It's so wonderful. And if you want to know more later, I'm not standing for parliament. I have a 35 years youngster who comes on my party list, whom I hope he is elected. But I'm always available to tell my story and where possible to help you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Van Nistelrooij. And now our next keynote speaker is Mr. John Bell, Director for the Bioeconomy in DG Research and Innovation at the European Commission. John, the floor is yours.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Goedemorgen, bonjour, bienvenue tout le monde, and welcome to the future. Before I start, what's going on outside this room, which is this world of catastrophism and pessimism, and we have the 12 horsemen of the apocalypse on full-time duty. I just want to, as a Commission official who's been kept on his toes for more than 10 years by Lambert van Nistelrooij, to draw attention to what a real politician looks like, who spends their time trying to get solutions and make complicated instruments work for people like yourselves. And to give you one very simple message, we're going to have the most important European election in the last 50 years in a few weeks' time. Whatever your views, please get out and vote. You want to do something about making things better, and everybody get out there and vote. The number of people who turn up will determine the kind of people who will set direction in the months and years to come. Now let me start by, I'm John Bell, I'm from the European Commission, and I'm working in the Research and Innovation Department, where about 7 or 8 years ago we sat down with our partners to think about how could we bring research and innovation together and invest into this very complicated area. And we set up the BBI together with our industrial partners. I want to thank Matt Quadlik and his colleagues and Dirac who are here today. And then we got Philippe and Alania and Nicola on the team and Marta to get an organisation up and running in the hope that we could turn aspiration to realisation. 5 years on, what we see and what you'll see in the course of today is absolutely remarkable. And the main message I want you to take from the European Commission is that we are committed to investment in the bioeconomy on the ground to give people like you the means to make it happen for the next decade to come. That's all I want you to take out of what I have to say this morning. Because as you know, an Irish person is somebody who will say 10 words where 3 are enough. We're quite different from the Dutch. We're not quite as economic. You may laugh now. You may not be laughing in an hour's time. I'm joking. I'm joking. On Monday in this very room, there was an extraordinary event about Sustainable Europe 2030. It was massively oversubscribed, and people were meeting to see what direction can we set in the next decade, given all of the great questions that face us in terms of the transitions that have to take place in our economy, in our society, in our environment. It was an extraordinarily positive event. In the seats where you're sitting now from across the world, there were people putting their minds together and across Europe to set direction. And that direction has been embodied in a number of different ways, which I'll mention in a moment. But if I take the arc of this week from that extraordinary setting of direction as to where we're going, the big question is, how are we going to do this? How are we going to develop these transition pathways where we can have new industries, where we can have, as Lambert has said, a regeneration and a vision for the rural economy, where we can have cities that can function in a sustainable way, where we can have people feeling that the future is going to be fairer. And here we are on Friday with a room where I understand from Alania we have about 60% of new people coming in to take charge of that task and to take the investment and to build partnerships and to make it happen. So as you know, the difference between optimism and hope is a plan. So part of what you're doing here today is to build the bridges and the partnerships and to not just take the direction, but to make it happen. And the people who will be talking today are trying to explain how you can access the funds in there. I think it's a very, very promising moment. What I'd like to talk about a little bit from the Commission's point of view is some of the framing and the opportunities that are there and that will be there, so that as you have your individual discussions, you know that you're part of a bigger initiative that is going to support you as you move, as many people have done, sitting in these very seats in the last 5 years, from an idea or an SME to a partnership, to a demonstrator, to an investment process, to really very significant new initiatives that are taking place on the ground across all of Europe, not just in the Golden Triangle. And the next Europe has to be one Europe in the real sense that wherever you come from, you have access to the best ways of building a better future on the ground. The Commission, as Lambert has said, has tabled the proposal called Horizon Europe, a framework programme, which is how we pull together all of the research and innovation funding at European Union level. And it has been brought together in a context of what we call the Great Transition, the transitions that we have to make over the next 10 years to work within a sustainable set of pathways, a climate-neutral economy, and a fair and balanced sharing, balanced, which is the word that Lambert used, an opportunity where the social transitions will be fast-tracked to the front and the people will not be left at the back as things move forward. This is the message actually on Monday. If we're going to make this transition work, the social transitions, the impact on the ground, the involvement of people in different parts of Europe at the beginning will be critical to the success that is there. And this is why the BBI and the work that is being done here is quite unique and remarkable. So we know that we have to support these transitions to a healthy, climate-neutral planet. We need to replace fossil resources. We need to mitigate climate effects. Increasingly, we'll have to adapt to climate effects. We have to find new ways of generating jobs and growth, because in order to sustainably grow, we have to grow using sustainability as the motor. And we need to keep our economy operating in what are now called the planetary boundaries. And this is very important in, digital innovation you can do relatively straightforwardly and quickly. When you're working with complex chemical and biological systems, you know, the framing of what you're trying to do is all the more complex, which is why the achievements of the BBI and what is happening and what you will do are all the more impressive. So you know that our Europe Together, we've been at the forefront of addressing the root causes of climate change and strengthening concerted global responses in the framework of the Paris Agreement. The European way in the next few years will be about setting a new direction to a sustainable economy through intelligent investment partnership, which is what today is all about, across research, innovation, industry and investment, and unlocking opportunities on the ground. It's about building, using your imaginations to build new value chains on the ground. And innovation in the bio-based value chains in the economy is and will play an increasingly important role. Because we're going to move, as I always say, from niche to norm. And we're going to move from niche to norm in real and different parts of Europe. There are many different bioeconomies, and the bio-based innovation can be part of making them happen and scale up. So to reach a climate neutral economy, additional transformations are needed in major economic sectors, namely industry, construction, and agriculture. In the European Union's communication called The Clean Planet, which I recommend that you have a look at some point, you will see that the bioeconomy, which is where this bio-based industrial revolution will take place, is one of the 7 key strategic pathways for the transition to a net zero greenhouse gas economy. And you will see also in the Sustainable Europe by 2030 communication, where we set out how are we going to address the Sustainable Development Goals in very practical ways, the areas that you'll be working in will affect about half of those areas of delivery in the future. Now, Philippe and Lambert were kind enough to refer to the bioeconomy strategy. Now, I know most of you here are just itching to get out there and start getting your money on the table and getting your deals, but it's important to know that this is not a flash in the pan. The European Union has adopted a new bioeconomy strategy at the end of last year, and that confirms our potential to achieve a more innovative low emissions economy, reconciling the demands whilst ensuring things like biodiversity and environmental protection. So the bioeconomy is at the centre of the next wave of transition, and bio-based innovation will be a critical motor in turning that from aspiration to realisation. A number of the actions in this strategy aim at strengthening the bio-based sectors to help Europe to transform its industries to become greener, more circular and climate smart. And sustainable local bio-based innovation, I think, will be the key driver that links the social, the economic and the ecological aspects of this process across all of Europe. Second point in terms of the framing as to what's behind all of this and what are all these people doing in Brussels all the time, is we are very close to having agreement in a formal way on the next framework programme, which is called Horizon Europe, which will be the most ambitious ever European research and innovation programme. In March, the institutions reached a partial political agreement. The Council and the Parliament are now in the process of finalising that, and we hope that on Monday of next week we'll have a vote in the plenary session, which no doubt, Lambert, you can assure us we will get. And this is important because it's also about making sure there's money there for people like yourselves to go off and make this thing happen on a bigger scale. So Europe across the institutions is facing the future, setting direction and investing in innovation. And the key message, again, I come back to again, is we're in this for the long haul. We are committed to investing in a sustainable bioeconomy for the long term, on the ground, in the real economy, and working with you to harness the creativity that's there. Horizon Europe envisages a major boost for the food, agriculture, rural development and bioeconomy areas. So we're talking about 10 billion euros being allocated. This is a vote of confidence in what you are all going to go out and do. This is more than doubles the current allocation at a time when the budget of the European Union is under great pressure. We have a higher level of ambition for Horizon Europe, but we need stronger engagement, we need greater financial commitment, we need more partners, we need a mobilisation on the ground of all actors, and particularly new actors, and we need to define forthcoming challenges and objectives and innovate within this expanding industrial ecosystem. And we will be taking Horizon Europe out after its adoption for consultation and conversation with different actors and stakeholders across Europe over the summer months. Very practical thing, you'll hear a lot about this wonderful opportunity in the BBI JU calls, which are familiar to some of you but maybe not familiar to others today. Alongside the BBI calls, we're also entering the last calls of what's called Horizon 2020, which is the current framework programme, where we've also funded from the Commission side our partnership in the BBI. In Horizon 2020, in our calls there, we are so committed to the work that is emerging out of the BBI's work in the bio-based industries that we will, in the last call, complement the activities of the BBI's initiative and act as a bridge from Horizon 2020 to Horizon Europe. So in complementing the BBI JU's call, which you'll hear about today, in the last year of Horizon 2020, there will also be very significant opportunities in many of these areas. And I strongly recommend that you keep your eyes and ears open for that. I mean, today's job is to get into the calls for the BBI call that's coming up. So I'm going to stop. You'll be glad to hear. I promised you this would be longer than you could possibly think. And I urge you really to take advantage. We've seen generation after generation, 5 years of people coming in, looking around, building bridges, and very quickly new business models, new companies, new organizations, and new opportunities take place on the ground. We need to work and take this opportunity to de-risk, demonstrate, and scale up how the next economy will take place using biological resources to drive the growth that will make sustainability a place where people live, work, and vote. And so you know the direction, you know you have our support, we have partners who are here to make things happen. Now it's over to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, John. The next keynote speaker is Alex Michine. Alex is CEO of Metgen and members of both the governing board of BIC and BBI. Alex, the floor is yours.
Today, because like Philippe said, I'm representing 3 different organizations at once. So I'm founder and CEO of Metgen, Finnish SME. And I'm also a member of the governing board on both BBI JU and BIC. So I know that many of you are new for this forum. That's why I think that my mission today is to tell the real story. Like the first thing John asked me today in the morning, how it is there in the real life. So I'm bringing you a piece of the real life today, so how the innovative SME can benefit and actually grow by participation in BBI actions. So basic information about BBI already been presented by Philippe, and it's on your table in a fantastic, by the way, document about the proposal for 2019. A little bit about BIC, and BIC is the private partner in BBI JU, and we represent the private sector in the BBI JU, and we have more than 200 industry members, and overreach over 80% of SME. This is absolutely amazing. And more than 160 associate members, universities and think tanks. So why we are together, and what is our mission? Our mission is to build new bio-based chains. So that's the core of our activity, and of course accelerate market uptake. That's the kind of 2 most important things. You can say a lot about why BBI is important, what are the good things, but I will concentrate on 2 aspects which are close to my heart. So I am the SME CEO and also SME representative in BIC and BBI. And I think that what is the most important for me is the participation of SME, because we believe that SME is the driving force of innovation in Europe. And BBI offers unique opportunity to innovative SME to play important role and leading role in bringing innovation in the market. So 2/3 of the industry members of BIC are SMEs. So what is there? Why SMEs actually need to be part of the BIC and participate in BBI JU? From my perspective, it's the the term which overused, but it's a crossing valley of death. So when you are an innovative SME and you bring up your technology to the point where you need to scale up and do the commercial, the only, from my perspective, mechanism to do that is to participate in the BBI calls and hopefully build the winning consortia and move on with the commercialization. And another thing which was very surprising, well, I remember the first meeting in BIC like 5 years ago, and I left the room extremely frustrated. I was like, I don't know anybody here. I know nobody wants to talk to me, and how I can build consortia. I don't understand anything. And then when I get back home, and then I was like thinking, no, it can't be true. You have to work hard, Alex, to get to that. And well, where we are now, you will see later on, we received 12.7 million euro in public financing over the 5 years. So how you do that? And you are networking. And the BIC and BBI JU is offering unique opportunity to work with the large industries. And of course, the most important thing for SME, again, is to move the TRL levels up in order to commercialize the technology. And what is often not said, but that's my view, because my company is backed up by the venture capitalists. I'm very often in the same room with the VCs and with the private equity guys. We very often talk about the biorefineries as what is needed, why it's moving kind of slow, right? And I asking them all the time, why, guys, you are not investing in the biorefineries? And the answer is very clear. So they would like to see that the technology works at scale. There is viable economical behind the biorefinery. And only then, after they will see that the money from the private sources, from the large industries via VCs will be pumped in, and biorefineries which we are building now, so there are 7 flagships, will mature in a couple of years, and that will be the turning point of the bio-based industry, because I'm sure that there will be great opportunity for many banks and VCs and private equities to finance, to replicate those biorefineries, because they would be, by that time, they would be proven to be commercially viable. So it's not too late for you to also to apply for the flagships and demos, because the call is open, so that to join the proud group of people who are building the future of European biorefineries. Another part which is very close to me, and again unexpected from that day 5 years ago when I first visited Big Info Day, is the structuring effect. I mean, it's a nice word, structuring effect. What does it mean? For me, it means that 5 years ago we thought that it's going to be one chain. Okay, the supply of the materials, bio-based materials, conversion, and end product to user. So we thought that it's going to be like this. Now I'm totally amazed how the things turned out. So we have in BIC representatives of food industry, which are collaborating in the chemical industry. We have pulp and paper guys working with the chemicals. We have marine industry working with the cosmetics. Just think about so how we all kind of tend to look at our own business and tend to think that we know everything what we're doing. But the thing is that the truth is out there. There are people and there are industries which you probably never even thought would be interested in your project. I'll give you my own example, very simple. We are enzyme company doing the enzymes for the pulp and paper industry as we started. So we know how to modify the fiber. And we thought that originally that it's only pulp and paper industry who would be benefiting it to make the packaging stronger and the tissue stronger. But amazingly, there are guys from the textile and household care and cosmetics. They are interested in fiber modification too. So unless I would be joining the BBI calls and work with the BIC, I would never actually learn about that. So, and of course, market focus. So that is absolutely point that you are not doing your project just for the sake of doing the continuous research of your favorite subject. All BBI calls are focused to the end market and for the end user. And then that's very important for me, because I think that it should be market driven. All our research and collaboration should be market driven. A little bit my company for you to relate the story. So we are 10 years old, and we are from Finland. And like I said, we are doing industrial enzymes, and we have a technology platform which is capable of making different enzymes for the different industry. And but what is important, I think, is that technical. Yes. So we are serving the biorefineries sector primarily. So what we do there, we are trying to help to utilize the lignocellulosic biomass into the valuable streams and enable better and new products, and most importantly, make modern biorefineries economically viable. And this slide, I think that probably could contain a lot of answers to you, because maybe you are wondering, how? Okay, it's interesting day, but how I can work in BBI JU? How I can benefit from that? So, in the left top corner, left bottom corner, is that where Metgen was 5 years ago. So we were 5 or 6 guys, and then we basically exceed national financing support, right? And we got on board professional venture capitalists, and we had a couple of products on our portfolio. And they've been focusing, VC guys, they always say, focus. So focus. So I was, where to focus? Pulp and paper. Okay, I have products in pulp and paper, so I would be focusing commercialize it. But deep inside, I thought that, oh my God, I have so many interesting enzymes to use for the other applications as well. So, but they were on a, they were not ready. They were in material 4 or 5, so nice lab work and huge potential. But so how I would move my not yet commercial product to the next step. And here you see the project in green. The projects are coming from the BBI. So first of all, we started to look into the other sectors other than pulp and paper. So who else would be benefiting from our enzymes? So we came across the very interesting project called BioRescue about the utilization of the mushroom waste. And so we managed to move up, scale up a little bit our enzymes for this reaction. Then we were also continuing to see the broadening application, coming up with the new enzymes as well via reactions. And reactions, you remember, is the research and innovation. But what is important, that participation in research and innovation action give you the opportunity to participate in most important projects. Those would be the demo projects. So now we are involved in 2 demo projects, and we moved technology even further by collaborating with large industrial players in both demo projects. And finally, we came to the, I would say, the most fantastic achievement of our company is to securing the flagship project, which is called Sweetwoods, where we finally can utilize our product to bring the results of our technology products to bring to the market. And that's amazing. You see, from scale up, cross-sector collaboration, multiply chains, demo projects, flagship. So that's how you grow your company using and collaborating in the frame of BBI. here is just an example of the multiple sectors and cross sectors and different value chains we are working. So you see, I would never thought 5 years ago that my enzymes would be used for the marine diesel production. Never, just never. And the polymer applications. So that's the example how widen the scope of your vision can be if you participate in the calls and building the consortia. So overall, that's our statistics. So Metgen participated generally in EU in 11 projects, 16 partners, overall 100 million. And we participated in building 25 value chains and came up in building the more than 45 different products. And of course, a couple of words about our flagship. It's something what we are very proud of, and it is 43 million integrated biorefinery flagship. So it's one of the kind, zero waste biorefinery. So, and this is the key here, because we strongly believe that the biorefinery can be economically viable only if you utilize all parts of the biomass. So if you only aim, sorry guys who involved with the bioethanol production, so if you're only involved in converting cellulose to the bioethanol, well, it's very complicated to be economically feasible. And so what we came up here, together with our partners, and the leading investor here is Estonian pellet manufacturer, Granul Invest, who were brave enough, well, very brave, to put their own money to build the biorefinery. And they seen the opportunity that the hardwood residues they are having in excess could be converted to something even more valuable than even the bioethanol. So what you do, you basically split the wood biomass into two streams, the sugar streams and lignin streams, and all the fermentation technologies behind this conversion are coming from Metgen. And what is important in the flagships, and that from the day one of the building the consortia, you have a participation of the industry. Because only then, if you have a commitment from the industrial company saying that, okay, if you come up with the product in spec, we will be using them from the day one. So that is driving force behind the flagship. As you see the names on the right, the companies who committed to work with us, who would like to use the materials when they will be ready. And that's absolutely driving force behind the success of the modern biorefineries. So what we are going to do with these streams is polyurethane foams, elastomeric foams, biocomposites. We are looking also on the cosmetics, carbon nanofibers, and what's not. So high-value products from the sustainable biomass and zero waste. That's the key. So to conclude, the Metgen and BBI and big open innovation approach, that's the key for us. So it's pretty much aligned with the Metgen strategy as the company. So we would like to be the best in what we are doing, and we would like to collaborate to get the maximum impact and of our solution for the customers. We only apply to the projects, or we only take part in consortia where we have a very clear role. And I really advise you to do that, because only then you can build the successful consortia. You should be unique in what you're offering to consortia, and but it needs to be in the core of your strategy. So that's very important. And of course, like I said, success in building this project gave us the opportunity to increase TRL level of our products and collaborate with the large industrial players. And my company moved over these 5 years in 3 key areas. So demonstration and deployment technologies, and developing value chains, and of course, setting up flagship biorefinery. So we are fully convinced that industrial private-public partnership is the way to build the bio-based industries, and using this opportunity, I would like to invite you to discuss and join BIC, and because I really think that that's the way how all of us can drive the bioeconomy of Europe. And talking about the bioeconomy of Europe, I would like to introduce, already mentioned here, the vision document of the Biocircular Society in 2050. It's available on web, so I encourage you to download and look through its fantastic document. And it tells about the vision, how the bioeconomy will where it will evolve towards 2050. And what is most important in this document, that it's the collective work of the BIC and its members, BBI JU advisory bodies, and more than 15 different organizations. So it's really the result of the teamwork and the team effort to set up the vision. So where we would like to move. And based on the vision, of course, the strategic research and innovation agenda will be built, and for the new public-private partnership, and we are looking now towards the Horizon Europe. And there are 4 pillars, if I may say so, of the SIRA. First of all, is to foster food security for the growing world population and meet demand for the sustainable products. Second is to contribute to a sustainable planet. Third is to create jobs and growth in the circular bioeconomy. And then last is achieve a circular bioeconomy society. So that is the main topics. So again, about main motivation for you to be part of the BBA is to, of course, networking. So I highly encourage you to do networking today. So after the main presentation, so mingle, meet new people, express your desire and the vision in the very first meeting. That's I think that again my recollection from 5 years ago. Why I was so frustrated. I didn't know what to say. So now it's very clear and big that you expressed. I would like to participate in this call. That's what I can bring to this call. That's what I'm looking forward in a collaboration. So be very clear and very open of the what you would like to do, and be part of the open innovation philosophy we are building here in this room. And so I think, and to conclude, that BBI JU provides ideal platform to work on your research, demonstration, and flagship installations. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Alex. Thank you very much to all keynote speakers. They stay with us for the Q&A session. And now I will be the first speaker of the second session. Maybe you will see some repetition, but what I will do in a few slides is a bit to summarize the achievement. And with the slide, maybe the messages are stronger. Voilà. First of all, where are we coming from? BBI JU was part of the bioeconomy strategy that was approved by the European Parliament in 2012. And the mission since the beginning is very clear, is to implement under Horizon 2020 rule the strategic innovation and research agenda developed by the industry and endorsed by the Commission. And the call are at the very heart of what we do. This PPP was decided because it aimed at 3 things. First, to de-risk investment. De-risk investment in research and innovation, and de-risk investment in scaling and deployment, as it has already well be explained by our keynote speaker. It's also about reaching the critical mass, because not a group of companies or country can be big enough to reach the ambition we have for Europe. And then it's about organizing the value chain. It has been repeated several times, and through the implementation of the program, it is expected to trigger investments, because there are some investment in flagship today that was not core business for the company, so trigger the investment. It's also about keeping investment in Europe. We are coming from a period where leading companies in Europe were developing bright science and technology in Europe, but investing outside Europe. And we are very happy to see also that we attract investment from companies having their headquarters outside Europe or demo plan outside Europe and investing in Europe. And the consequence is to have the mobilizing effect and structuring effect that has already been discussed. Where are we today? So today we talked about the call 2019. The call 2018 is under the grant agreement preparation process. And I already said what we have in our portfolio of projects with 82 running projects that will reach around 100 projects with the outcome of the call 2018. That's the output, more than 900 beneficiaries, large participation of SME, very good country geographic coverage, and 7 flagships where the objective by 2020 was 5. So in terms of output, doing quite well. We have been talking about the flagship, but okay, we are very happy, but it was very ambitious at the beginning because there was a concern, first of all, okay, can you really mobilize actors to reach 5 flagships? Okay, we have already 7, but more than that, they are quite well spread from a geographic point of view, as you can see on the map, and the feedstock, the business case is very different from one to the other. Talking about the geographic spread, this is the usual statistic, looking at country participation. In green plus yellow, that's the participation, the applicant, and the yellow are the retained proposal. We have been doing a lot of effort to mobilize widely countries, in particular the EU 13. When I say we, it's not BBI JU, it's all the actors. If we turn this picture by simply normalizing the amount of money, the grant per country, just divided by the GDP, you can see that the picture looks a bit different. And surprisingly, the blue line you can see is the average of the two regions. The good news is that the effort pays. And you can see, wow, wonderful line there for Slovakia, Estonia. That's about a flagship. There is also a flagship in Romania, but they're the beneficiaries in Germany. But the investment, large investment, is done in Romania. So there is an effect there, and that's good. The profile of participant, that's also something very important for you as potential applicant, but also as an achievement of the program. This is an industry-driven initiative, so 61% are a private company. That's normal. But look at the green side, as already said, the scientific community, the universities, the research center represent overall 30% of the participant, but also of the grant. And again, we have to insist on the SME participation, as it was already said, as a big achievement. Oh my God, this one we don't like it. But we never tried, we never found another way to present it, but it speaks of it on its own. This matrix represents the granted project of BBI. The columns are the different type of action, from early maturity up to flagship. In green, you have the different type of feedstock, the strategic orientation 1, as it is called in the project, and the color of the different projects there are call after call. And that's a very important table we monitor regularly with the governing board, because that based on it that we orient the program, because the objective at the end is to have a good coverage of it. You can see area empty, and it's certainly not a surprise for you. Aquatic feedstock was not a priority at the beginning of the program. That's the case today. And bio-waste and CO2 utilization, you can see that for the flagship area there is nothing yet, also because it's a very difficult area, and at the beginning of the program technologies were not mature enough, but a lot of efforts are done to cover that. And at the back you can see the strategic orientation 4, which is about market uptake, very important for the sectors. There we have coordination and support action in the area of policy, regulation, innovation, standardization, consumer awareness, benefit of the bio-based product, and knowledge gathering and networking. I really invite you all to consult our website and get connected with this CSA, so you will support them, help them, but it offers you an opportunity to really participate and contribute to the community. How do I escape from it? Next. Okay. Okay. Output, outcome. What the portfolio of projects expect to deliver by 2020. That's the second level of monitoring of the program to check if we are in the right direction. Of course, all the figures have to be validated at the end of the project, but we cannot wait the end of the project. We have to check if we are in the right direction, if we are on the right track. We have 8 indicators, not 1,000. 8 defined in the CIRA, and that each of them correspond to an objective. The first one is about expected new cross-sector interaction. The target by 2020 was 36, and we are already at 140 expected by 2020. The second indicator is about the creation of new value chain. Alex explained that the project, the activity they are in, how many value chain they contribute to the creation. There, the portfolio expects to create 100, more than 100 value chain, and the target was 10. More interestingly is what is new in those value chain. 70% of them correspond to new market, new product. 50, it's about new technology. 50% new feedstock, and 40% totally new business model. But I have to point out something, if I can. Yeah, I can. So, wow, or okay, maybe you were a bit pessimistic because the target was 10 and now you have already 100. So there is something strange there. It's in fact quite easy to explain because the model where BBI JU was set up at the beginning with the first group of companies that were there, the system was organized around linear value chain, quite isolated, with one feedstock, transformation for one product. That was the model of the beginning. And what we see today is that the reality is totally different. Sorry again for an horrible slide. What is it, this one? It's very easy. You can see the different segment of the value chain, and each line corresponds to a project of the portfolio. And this is only for agri-based feedstock. It's not the whole portfolio. What do you see there? Linear value chain? Not at all. That's the reality of the sector. Fully interconnected value chain and sector that were not collaborating in the past. And that's why, indeed, today, the current portfolio of 82 projects expect to deliver more than 100 value chain in the future. That's the reality of the sector. As a summary, output of the project, outcome, and definitely we can say that was a conclusion of our last governing board recently, that it clearly contribute to the structuring effect and mobilizing effect, and then answering the ambition of organizing the value chain and reaching the critical mass. We have other indicators, now more about product. The number 4 is about expected new bio-based building blocks, bio-based chemical building block. The target was 5, and we have more than 60. Again, there is an explanation about it, because what is a bio-based building block has nothing to do with the petrochemical industry, but the petrochemical industry have centuries of experience to structure and organize. So it's by far more diversified in BBI. But maybe more interesting is the right side of the slide, because the ambition, of course, we have in the portfolio some drop-in products, some dropping bio-based building blocks, so easy access, but the ambition is to be different, to capitalize on the complexity of nature, to build new functionality. And as you can see in the portfolio, 40% are drop-in, 30% show better performance, and 30% of those building blocks are simply completely breakthrough, completely new. We also monitor the expected new bio-based material, and there the target was 50, and the expectation is already at 140. And again, you can see that 30% of them only are drop-in, and more than 60% expect to deliver improved or completely new functionality. Back to the map of the deployment, you can see here the blue dots are the flagship, the green dots are the demonstration plan, and on the right side, something that I already mentioned in my welcome speech, 3,000 direct jobs, more than 10,000 indirect jobs, more than 1 billion investment, and a high replicability. And the very good news, more than half of the investment is done in EU 13. That's a big, big, big achievement. And we also monitor the socio-economic and environmental impact. I will certainly not present all those lines today. Everything will be in our report, but that's something we monitor since last year. I will just talk about the three first one. All the rest is available already on request. Don't hesitate to contact us. Jobs. Fortunately, 80% of the project expect to create jobs. Fortunately, it's an industry-driven initiative. That's the overall goal. But more interestingly is to check, because an ambition is that most of the jobs are created in rural area, despite the fact we had feedstock not connected with the rural area, and there the figure is 46%. If you look at job, it's directly connected to investment. The EU has already invested 500 million euro of grant, and it will continue to grow project after project. The private partner from his side monitor on a yearly basis the portfolio of investment of their member. In 2014, the portfolio was overall 2 billion. 2017, it reached 5 billion, and last year it was 5.5 million, showing the investment of the industry there. And it's also about environmental impact. On this slide, you can see all the different contribution, and you can see the quite high significant contribution. And each of these measurements are, of course, documented. We have the explanation behind. Again, I have a problem with that. And the last socioeconomic and environmental aspect we monitor is science and knowledge. We have been talking about structuring effects, networking, collaborating. If you only look at the second line of the graph, increase academia and industry cooperation, close to 80% of the project directly contribute to this improvement, which is also a very important achievement. I will conclude with lessons learned. First, key achievement. The KPI are well on track. We contribute to achieving the objective of structuring and mobilizing effects. There is a huge leverage effect, quite on track, but contrasted, because we know that some of the layers are, I would say, are not successful, but overall, it is on track. We have a wonderful, well-balanced portfolio. Public funding to TRL, high TRL level is confirmed to be essential, and that's really where we obtain the highest socioeconomic impact. High SME participation, industry investment, and what the CEO says today is, yes, we have really the feeling that Europe is back on the map as an attractive area where to invest in Europe. I will pass this one shortly. What is said in the Parliament, in our interim evaluation, Commission is to encourage to continue to do much more, but I prefer to conclude on this one because we are not there yet. Wonderful, but we are not there yet. And of course, we are looking at Horizon Europe. It's still huge. No, not yet, thank you. I will thank you afterwards. Huge and still risky investment. Issue of accessing private capital have been explained already, and there is still this huge gap between demonstration and flagship. Flagship, when it is in operation, show it works, and then the projects became bankable. So that is still a reality. Structuration is ongoing, but still market, and it is still very fragmented. Some areas are not yet covered enough. Farmer participation, too many cases, they are in the value chain, but as a supplier, and they should be fully integrated in the value chain. There is a lot of other feedstock potential to address, and geographic coverage needs to be confirmed. Brand owners, that's the good news. At the beginning, they were not there. Now they are fully present in the program. That's very important because at the end, they develop the product for consumers. And retailers' participation should be increased. The sector also requests coherent, supportive, and stable regulatory framework. And we see that when products now reach the market, some remaining hurdles. And certainly for all of us, we should better tell the story of bioeconomy and bio-based product, consumer awareness, education. We are not there yet. And certainly go beyond the fossil to bio-based story and have fully on board climate mitigation, water quality, human and animal health, and biodiversity. And that's what is addressed in the Vision 2050 of the sector. And I will stop here and give the floor immediately to Eleni Tika, who will present you the programming. Eleni Tika is the head of unit program of the BBI JU. Eleni, the floor is yours.
Thank you all very much. I always have to bring this just a notch down for my size. I mean, it's a very tough act to follow for very inspiring speeches. So let me bring you from the skies back to the ground, from the dream straight to the work. What I will do here today is explain to you what are our core priorities for this year, what are some of the novelties, and I'll try to be as concise as possible because I know we may be running a little bit over time. I'll focus a little bit on the strategic orientations and the highlights of this year's call. My colleagues later on from my team will go into the nitty-gritty as to how to apply, how to prepare a good proposal, etc. So, I mean, this call doesn't fall from the sky. It is actually a result of a very robust programming process, a process in which both of our partners work hand in hand, together with our advisory bodies who are consulted throughout. The annual calls for proposals are developed as a basis of the CIRA, which has been actually developed by our industry. It is our industry's vision of how bio-based industry should be deployed in Europe. I will not go too much into this process, but I wanted to say that this remains an industry-driven program where public funding becomes instrumental in essentially ensuring deployment at large scale. So you all now have an opportunity to become contributors and active actors in that entire endeavor. The CIRA sets out 4 strategic orientations, which have actually been updated in 2017, that really go from the linear, have moved away from the linear view of the value chain into a much more integrated approach. Strategic orientation 1 addresses the sustainable supply of biomass and feedstock to fit both existing and new value chains, and Philippe very nicely demonstrated how much the value chains have actually evolved since the inception of the program. SO2 covers the processing and biorefining through R&D and innovation, all sorts of different processes, pretreatment, conversion, downstream processing, system modeling, and we will see a lot more the impact and influence of digitalization in this area. Of course, SO3 covers the end users and market uptake. It is really about bringing products for identified market applications, but not only drop-in, as well as new breakthrough products that have new functionalities and even better performance than their fossil-based counterparts. And SO4 addresses very transversal issues that affect deployment across the board, and it's really about creating an accelerating market uptake of bio-based products through understanding what the regulatory framework that we require should be, understanding how to enhance consumer awareness about the benefits of bio-based products, but also understanding how to better tell the story of the bio-based economy and the bioeconomy as a whole. And of course, it is about knowledge gathering and networking, very much part of what we also do here today. For those of you who are new, and I understand very many of you are actually new, it is important to be aware that we address via different types of actions the entire value chain. So we have a set of actions that are focusing more on research and innovation, demonstration actions that are more at the pilot scale, and flagship projects, first of their kind, that are addressing very high TRLs. We also have CSA topics that are looking at addressing non-technological challenges for value chain, and we mentioned those just a moment ago. The TRL scale here that you see across the different types of actions is very clear, and these are the end TRL. So by the end of the project, this is what should be accomplished. It is very, very important in the proposals that you prepare that you clearly state the starting TRL. So it is very important that we have a credible jump from where you are to where you propose to be by the end of the project. And I really want to highlight that for flagships, we're really looking at TRL 8, so a system that is complete and qualified, and we are really at very close to a market stage. Philippe talked to you a lot about impact and how we monitor that. We put a special emphasis on that because any program these days should really be impactful, should be translated into improving citizens' lives, environment, society, and the economy as a whole. But we need to be able to demonstrate that we are accomplishing that. And the CIRA has defined 8 specific KPIs through which we actually monitor this progress. What Philippe showed you is actually the results or the expected results from a current portfolio, but what I show you in this list is actually the ones, the KPIs against which your proposals will be evaluated. Looking at new cross-sector interconnections, new bio-based value chains, new building blocks, new bio-based materials. A TRL gain, it's all about improvement of technology, so we're really looking at whether we're accomplishing the innovation that's required to deploy at large scale. And of course, we are putting special emphasis on the socioeconomic and environmental impact, and I really can't emphasize that enough. These KPIs are assessed during the evaluation. You need to take them seriously, you need to be as quantifiable as possible and as descriptive as possible. It is really about delivering impact through the projects that we finance. What are some of the highlights for this year's call? It's the one before last, actually, for this framework program, and it has a very consistent budget. As I've mentioned just a moment ago, there is a continued strong focus on impact and KPIs. So we really want to make sure that the projects that we will finance through this call also ensure the delivery of all the targets or well beyond that. The diversification of the feedstock portfolio continues to be a strong emphasis in this year's call. We're looking at broadening our portfolio through the use of new or existing sources. For example, there's a flagship topic this year for bio-waste, and as well as utilization, another topic for utilization of new tree species. There is a continued interest on the improvement of innovative technologies and processes for pre-treatment, conversion, etc. And also a very special emphasis for the development of new products outperforming fossil-based counterparts for different applications, textiles, biostimulants, biofertilizers, etc. But there is a very key focus as well on SMEs and how we can enhance the creation of clusters that can really then enable SMEs to even better participate in the program and to participate in the scaling up. There's going to be a focus on the participatory approach. So how do we bring citizens on board this effort, as well as assisting brand owners to really moving to bio-based, because we want to develop products that can actually be taken up by market. So these are some of the novelties. In terms of the structure of our annual work program, there has been, let's say, an improvement of the overall presentation as well through a set of call introductory pages where a set of certain common features across the topics are mentioned. There's also a table with standard requirements for each of the type of actions which are clearly indicated. And I invite you all to consult those tables when you prepare your proposals. We also have now included, through the very intensive work of our big partners, the Commission and our scientific committee and SRG, a glossary of topics with a set of definitions of key concepts. And we thought that was very important to introduce because everybody seems to be understanding a little bit different things when it comes to talking about what is feedstock, what is downstream processing, etc. So that is there now. That is a clear improvement of the annual work program. And there is, I must say, a wider range of expected impacts that need to be absolutely addressed in the proposals. There's a specific requirement for social, environmental, and economic impacts, but they are clearly spelled out for each topic. You don't address them sufficiently or in a credible manner, I can assure you, you will not be successful. I would like also to highlight that there is, for this year, another novelty which is of key importance, in that there is for each flagship topic now a dedicated budget line. Whereas for the other types of actions, there's still a common budget across the different topics, but for flagships, there's a budget earmarked per topic for this year for the first time. So what are some of the areas that we are addressing in terms of feedstock? So ASO1, we're looking at improving the utilization of existing feedstock, but also, as we've said, with a focus on diversifying feedstock use, we're looking at exploiting also underutilized or new types of biomass. You see on the far right of the slide the actual topic correspondence for each of these different areas. So for processing, as I've said, the different areas are addressed from pre-treatment to system modeling. In terms of product development, we're looking really at bio-based products that can outperform their fossil-based counterparts, so not just drop in at this point. And in terms of accelerating market uptake, there's a very strong focus on assisting brand owners to turn to bio-based, to ensure that we can bring the citizens on board through the participatory approach and to empower the development and capacity building of SME clusters. Just to get back to the nitty-gritty, when it comes to funding, as I've said, this call has a very consistent budget. It doesn't mean it will not be a competitive call. I must say the success rate has been impacted a lot recently just through the mobilization and the very growing and strong interest of the applicant community. We have this year, though, 135 million euro for 21 topics, and you see the budget distribution per types of actions. But as I've said, for each flagship now topic, you have a dedicated budget line that ranges from 12 to 20 million euro for the corresponding topics. I would like to highlight also that this does remain an industry-driven program, and there are clear expectations for what industry should be committing in the course, in the context of this call as well. So there is an estimated value of in-kind contributions that is expected by industry, which is at minimum 60 million euro for this year. So it is very important to think about that when you prepare your proposals. That has to be demonstrated in a credible and clear manner. In the next few slides, I will just say a few words for the different topics and the different types of actions. There are 10 RIA topics for 52 million euro. The budget per proposal is indicatively 2 to 5 million euro. I will not read through all the topics here. You see it on the slide, but just to give you some highlights, we're looking at topics that address, as we've said, the use of different new types of feedstock, different types of processing in terms of modeling, composition of bio-based residual streams, process intensification, developing surface or bulk treatments for improved wood-based materials, etc. There's also a very interesting focus on the development of high-volume consumer products, as well as an emphasis on fibers and functional molecules and high-performance materials. For the demos, we have 4 topics this year. We have a budget of 31 million euro, up to 7 million euro per proposal. We're looking again at the scaling up of conversion of lignin into valuable compounds, but we're also now putting emphasis in the scaling up of aquatic feedstock processing. So in this particular call, we're looking at producing components for food and feed, but from microalgae. So we're looking at the growing maturity of the technologies that can be addressed to aquatic feedstock. So we hope to be able to fund the proposal in that topic through this call. In terms of products, we're looking at functional ingredients and additives, pesticides, biostimulant agents at demonstration scale. Now, coming to the flagships, as we've said, this year we have 3 topics with a dedicated budget per topic, 47 million euro in total, and we address the following topics. There is a topic that is going to look at the valorization of the organic fraction of municipal solid waste. I would like to say this is also pointing to the growing importance of this type of feedstock for the bioeconomy and the bio-based economy, and looking at doing that through an integrated biorefinery at commercial level. Another flagship topic is going to look at applying different technological combinations to valorize all components of biomass feedstock. And the final topic is looking at developing high-performance bio-based alternatives for harmful products or processes for protecting and enhancing human health and the environment. So you see different facets of the CIRA addressed through these topics. And finally, as I've said, the CSAs will look really at not only bringing on board brand owners, but assisting them in switching to bio-based, looking also at the development of methods and better communication for the applicability of mass balance principles to attribute biomass feedstock to products. I think this is a very technical but very critical matter for understanding also biomass availability. The participatory approach really addresses the involvement and engagement of citizens to our community and ensuring that we can shape the bio-based economy by bringing everyone on board from the bottom up. And finally, very strong emphasis on the empowerment and capacity building of SME clusters. Just to go to some very key dates, please mark them. Please don't miss them. If you're interested in applying, our call opened last week. It will close on the 4th of September 2019. If you hit the button too late, we're very sorry. There's nothing we can do about that. So please be very mindful. There's information to applicants throughout this period. I think there's going to be a lot of discussions this afternoon. The evaluation usually takes place around October, November, and then we try to get the results out to all of our applicants by the end of the year. So this is our standard cycle. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to visit our booth as well during the breaks or during the afternoon. Final remarks, I would like to conclude this round of introductions by saying that this annual work program, even though it may be the second to last, it continues really to accelerate the development of sustainable value chains through a number of different areas. So the work is not done. There's still plenty to do around the sustainable and efficient utilization of feedstock. Innovative technologies still need to be scaled up, and that is it's maybe an easy thing to say, but not an easy thing to do. The focus on SMEs is really, really key for us. I mean, Philippe mentioned earlier, it's more than 40% SMEs participating in our sector. That speaks to the nature of this sector, and it is important that we assist all actors throughout the value chain to make this a success. I really can't stress enough the importance of impact and the delivery of our targets. We can't do this without your efforts, but please, please be very concrete, be very descriptive and solid when you present how your proposals can actually contribute to these different aspects. And they have to be clearly addressed in all the proposals you put forward. You have to read very, very carefully all the instructions. And finally, you must demonstrate the industrial commitment in these projects that you will put forward. This is a program that is driven by the industry for the citizens and for society, and it can only be done so with clear commitments from all actors. So I'd like to thank you all. I would like to wish you very good success in your proposals and in your partnering, and I will stop there. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Eleni. So you have seen that we are running a bit late. So can I ask you to address your question only if you have a question to Mr. Van Nistelrooij and John Bell, because they will have to leave us. For all of us, we will stay. And there is another Q&A session later this morning. So do you have questions for our keynote speakers? Or you prefer the tea and the coffee?
Coffee.
Biomass.
Yes, some feedstock. Great. So, sorry. Yes, please.
Hello. Yes. My name is Marijke van Hooydonk from Royal Kozen, Noord-Brabant, Nederland. I have a question for Mr. Van Nistelrooij. We are very happy and thankful for the grants that the European Commission is providing. At the same time, when we want to move and transit fast in the bio-based economy, we might need more policies and regulations, because one of the largest competitors here is the oil price. And I was wondering what your view and forecast is on this discussion in our member states and in the European Parliament.
It's very clear that today we talk about especially stimulating partners to get into the next step of cooperation with industry. This is one part of the European stimulation, and the other part is the regulation side. And it's exactly there that the conditions to have proper chances and stability on the longer run to invest is extremely important. So this is the reason why, for instance, European Commission took back in this period several separate proposals for resolutions to come into one circular economy approach. And this is extremely important when you come with your results and in the end of your rollout you are confronted with unclear or conflicting parts of regulation. And this is exactly the way that the European Commission has come forward, and it's always the case that the member states, because a lot of these sets are implemented in member states, are of course taken on board. And this communication with the member states is extremely important in the upcoming time. So you can take from my side the commitment of the Parliament to have this integrated approach, to have this long-lasting, standing approach for regulations, to give you a stable investment ground. So this is my general answer, and if there are more points in details, please contact me.
Okay, so I think we will go for some coffee and tea. Thank you very much. Can I ask you to come back at the very latest at 11:45? Thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you very much.
It's just the pricing of oil remains determining factor for the investment.
Great. It was not an easy exercise because you had to change it.
principe
different representations from the BBI will come back to you with ideas and
Wijs ik het daar nou net aan? Wat was gewoon een poging? Ja, niks doen. Die ligt onder de Jawel, stop wel. Ik stop Maar niet dagelijks. Niet dagelijks, maar wel. Jawel. Ja. Ik heb een Vlaming die everywhere we can pass the message.
Sorry. Another picture with all the
No, it can run through.
His people, so the people dealing with what's called fake news, then you or your colleagues should go and meet them and just talk to them, show to the they're integrated, these are very different communities and strands.
Yeah, I know. It's actually amazing to me how this can exist. You know, when you really look at circular economy principles, resource efficiency systems, those guys, and now we're really also interested in how to grow in our plant products, but also stuff. So
It's convenient, it's understanding how it works from your point of view. When everybody knows something, it's just getting the conversation jumped up. So listen, look after yourself. Okay, if you have any problems in any of them, Kut is his family name. K-U-T-T, Kut. Okay. Valdemar Kut, talk to Thomas about it. And if you have any problems, get back on. Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Oh, yes.
Enjoy your holiday.
My dinner host.
I just arrived because I had to do something with Saban, so I was in the office. And I was the only one in the office, desert office. Desert office, but I heard that everything was fine. I heard it was very inspiring.
Okay, this is not how it works. That's bad.
Pretty good. Yeah. I'm sorry to hear. I'm sorry to. I'm sorry to. I'm so glad I can say goodbye, and I hope I see you many times again. Doing the same thing. Sell it and transferring it digital. Next Tuesday. For anyway, it's good to see you. Really good to see you. Thank you. Can I give you my phone? Here we go. I'm looking circular economy, models which are very also learn you get at this game opportunity coming in events like this. I mean, you're I give you I think it's something curious to see this more settled, proteins, plant-based polymers.
That's the way it works, huh?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, okay. So I can look whether I have my phone and that I don't forget my phone. Ik denk dat mijn telefoon heb. Even kijken. Ja,
I thought your presentation was very good.
yeah, but you know, politically, it is important to encourage people.
We want to go for it will be a first for us, but we already have.
Wat doen we ermee, Thijs? Gaan wij terug? Even koffie drinken?
What time was that?
11:45.
What do you want to do? Stay 5 seconds and go out? Exactly, yeah. But this is what just when I read it, I have the impression that I fit, but I wanted to check with you because other people told me,
Info at BBI.
Bien. Alors, c'est par là aujourd'hui. Normalement,
Oui, mais
c'est bien. Oui.
Hello, Mame. How are you?
I'm fine. Yourself?
Fine, thank you.
Please.
most of the partners actually are from Portugal. She's not here.
Globally, the previous info day, some time ago.
Good?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. I'm in the same office with Pilar.
Good.
I missed a couple of times, I've seen you passing by.
Okay. Not recently, I think, but okay.
It was, yeah, some time ago.
Perfect.
Dear friends, colleagues, participants, may I please ask you to start taking your seats? We have a very busy program still, so it is important to get to it. So please take your seats so we can kick off the session. I know coffee is much better out there than here, but there's very important information we'll be talking to you about, so please come and please take your seat so we can start.
Just explain what is Thomas and
Absolutely. Okay, we are going to start with our second session of the day. This is the point where it gets very, very interesting. If I can please have everyone's attention, that would be very kind and very much appreciated. Yeah. I might just need to get up there, I think.
Ask Thomas to
Thomas, can you please go to the podium? Yeah. So we are kicking off. We are kicking off the second session with one of my colleagues from my team, Thomas Visikas, who will be talking to us today about coal management rules and conditions. It sounds boring, but it is not. It is essential. You must pay close attention to it, so please listen carefully. And please welcome Thomas. This is his first BBI Info Day. Thank you all very much for a warm welcome.
No pressure.
Thank you, Eleni. Thank you, Eleni. I'm very happy to see the room full again after the coffee break, and it seems now that you are all energized. You've seen at the first session the context of the BBI calls. Now we are going to see more the technicalities. So I'm going to talk about the rules and conditions for the call 2019. Eleni presented before that BBI JU supports 3 types of actions: RIA, innovation actions, and CSAs. As you can see, they are split in different technology readiness levels, and depending on the type of action, we have different legal and financial aspects. First of all, it's important to underline that BBI JU follows exactly the rules of Horizon 2020, as it is part of it. However, there is one important exception. There is no funding for large industries in RIA and CSAs. All the information that I'm going to talk about in this presentation, you can find it in the Annual Work Plan 2019, in the Guide for Applicants, and in the Frequently Asked Questions. Everything is available in our website under the Participate. As I said, BBI JU is part of the Research and Innovation of the European Commission, Horizon 2020. There are 3 main principles in Horizon 2020: open science, open innovation, open to the world. And now we will see how these principles apply in our calls for proposals. Open to the world. Who can apply? Any legal entity from all over the world. And by any legal entity, I mean any natural or legal person that is registered under national laws. This includes large industries, SMEs, research organizations, universities, public bodies, NGOs. From all over the world, everyone can participate, not only EU member states and Horizon 2020 associated countries. However, there is an asterisk here. Later on, you will see that not everyone is eligible for funding. But you need to build a consortium to participate. There are different rules. For CSA actions, you need at least one single entity from an EU member state or an associated country. For RIA and innovation actions, you need minimum 3 legal entities established in at least 3 different EU member states or associated countries, and it's important here to underline that these entities must be independent from each other. The second principle, open science, open innovation. This is translated to the open access policy, and open access refers to open access to research publications and to open access to research data. Open access to research publications is not a new thing. It was also in the previous framework program. But what happened in Horizon 2020 is that it became a contractual obligation. All peer-reviewed scientific publications have to be openly accessible, and this is under Article 29.2 in the grant agreement. You have different options, green and gold open access, and this all, you can find it in Horizon 2020 online information. Open access to research data. It started as a pilot in Horizon 2020. And this refers to the data generation, verification, reusability, storage. The principle behind it is not to duplicate research and also to allow research results to be reproducible and verifiable by other researchers. Now, you are automatically opted in if you invited to prepare a grant agreement if you are successful in the proposals. And you can opt out at any stage, even during the grant agreement preparation or later on during the project. If you decide to opt in, you have to create a data management plan by month 6 that has to be regularly updated. Important to underline, you are not seen more favorably in the evaluation, and you are not penalized if you opt out from the open access to research data. All costs related to open access policy are eligible. Let's see now who's eligible for funding. Everyone can participate, but not everyone can claim funding from Horizon 2020. Automatically eligible for funding are EU member states and Horizon 20 associated countries, and also a long list of countries listed in the Annex A of Horizon 2020 work program. Not automatically eligible for funding, but you may have forms of co-funding mechanisms, are industrial countries and emerging economies. Also, we have different funding rates depending on the type of legal entity and the type of action. Starting from the bottom of this table, Horizon 2020 general rules, 100% reimbursement rate of the eligible costs for non-profit organizations for all types of action. Also, Horizon 2020 rules, SMEs, 100% of eligible costs for RIA and CSAs. BBI specific, large industries, 70% for innovation action, no funding for RIA and CSAs. What is the principle behind it? We want the industry to support promising concepts from even research level. How can you demonstrate the promising ideas and the support of the industry? Through the consortium own contribution. There are 3 ways to demonstrate this. In-kind contributions, financial transfers, and additional investments. In-kind contributions are calculated by the difference of the total eligible costs in the grant minus the BBI JU requested funding. We will see examples later. Financial transfers are in-kind transfers between partners of the project to implement part of the action. This is outside the budget table. And additional investments are investments in infrastructure, facilities, equipment that contribute to achieving the objectives of the project and also the BBI JU objectives and maximize the impact. These are also outside the budget table, and important here is that they are not limited to the duration of the project. Let's see the examples now to make things clearer. First, an example of the budget table for the calculation of the in-kind contributions for RIA and CSA projects. You see that the funding rate is 100%, but 0% for large industries, the BBI-specific condition. At the left side of the table, you can see the participant type legal entity, and the rest of the table is the breakdown of the costs. Again, Horizon 2020 rules. 25% of indirect costs are the direct personnel costs and other direct costs, is calculated as in Horizon 2020. What you can see is that the research organization, provided that it's non-profit, it's 100% reimbursement rate. The large industry has eligible costs, but has 0% reimbursement rate. Automatically, this becomes the ICOP of the project. The SME can claim up to 100% of eligible costs. However, they decide to request lower funding and contribute to the ICOP of the project. And the university here claims 100%. The ICOP at the bottom of the slide is calculated in blue by the difference between the total eligible costs and the requested grant. The same example for innovation actions. Here, everything is Horizon 2020 rules. 70% funding rate in the principle of co-funding of research European grants, and 100% for non-profit organizations. You can see now that the university, they can claim up to 100%, and instead they decide to claim lower grant, supporting further the action and contributing to the ICOP. The large industry can claim 70%, but indeed they decide to even support further the ICOP by requesting lower grant. The SME does the same. At the very end, that you see that the ICOP calculated at project level is 50% of the eligible costs. Let's see now examples of how you declare the financial transfers in the proposal. It has to be declared in two parts, the part A and part B. In part A, in section 5, the call-specific questions, you have the cash contributions. There, you need to click yes, we have cash contributions, and also the names of the organizations providing these cash contributions, the total amount at the end. And at the same time, you have to explain convincingly in part B, in section 3.4, the resources to be committed, in an illustrative table, how these financial transfers are going to occur. You have to declare the beneficiary providing the financial transfers, the beneficiary receiving the financial transfers, the total amount, and the list of the activities that this transfer is related. It has to be clearly stated and convincingly stated. Same principle for the additional investments. In part A, again, in the same section, you declare the names of the participants providing the additional investments and the total amount. In part B of the proposal, again, an illustrative table will help the evaluators assess it. The beneficiaries providing the additional investment, the description of the activity, the contribution to the BBI JU objectives, and if applicable, the estimated value of the investment, if applicable, the other EU funding for this activity, and at the end, the total amount. Reaching to the end of my presentations, some key messages. BBI JU is part of Horizon 2020, and we follow the Horizon 2020 rules, with the exception, the derogation that we have for the BBI JU funding for large industries in RIA and CSA. BBI JU is a public-private partnership and an industry-driven project. What we want is the leveraging of private investments. And how you demonstrate that? You demonstrate it with a consortium own contribution, the in-kind, the financial contributions, the additional investments, which is thoroughly assessed during the evaluation. And the next presentations are going to demonstrate how important it is. What I advise strongly, read carefully the Annual Work Plan 2019, the Guide for Applicants, and the Frequently Asked Questions, all found in our website. Get the context of our calls and get the specificities in order to write a successful proposal. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Thomas. Not too bad for a starter, I would say. Now, off to the next very important presentation. Paloma Mallorquin will be talking to you about submission and evaluation of proposals. Also very, very, very critical. Please pay close attention as well. Thank you very much, Paloma.
Thank you very much. When submitting a proposal for funding, you need to have a clear answer to mainly two questions. One is by when, and the second is how. So the answer to the when was already given by Eleni when presenting the call timeline. And the content of my presentation will be on the how. So I will go through the process of the proposal submission, to the internal checks, eligibility, admissibility, the evaluation of proposals, and the process of the grant agreement preparation until the finalization with the grant agreement signature. This way we will really like to help you to have a better understanding and an overview of the process so that you will be able to complete the whole process successfully. Let's start with with a very important subject, which is where to find Call 2019 and where to find all the relevant information. All the relevant information regarding Call 2019, you can find it in our website. You will go to our website to participate, then you click on Call 2019, and there you will find a whole bulk of information regarding Call 2019, including the highlights, the call timing, and very important, some additional documents that will really help you to prepare your proposal, as for example, the guide for applicants that you have to follow, and the frequently asked questions for applicants for this specific Call 2019 that are updated. And then, of course, all the relevant documents that you need to follow and understand. There, in our website, you find also a link to the Funding and Tenders Opportunities portal, but you can also go directly to the Funding and Tenders Opportunities portal and look for our call. It's really easy. You can either search in the search function, you type BBI, or you can filter by call. You have the call identifier, Horizon 2020 BBI GTI 2019, and then you click, and then you have there all the 21 results, which are the 21 topics of our call. You need to log in the portal, and then you will select a topic, and you will be prepared to apply for to prepare your proposal. We follow the same Horizon 2020 rules, principles, and of course, IT tools. So we use the Funding and Tenders Opportunity portal that is supported by this electronic submission system that is a wizard that really guides the user in every step of the preparation of the proposal. So once that your idea is really translated into a proposal that follows the template of the BBI, the consortium is already prepared, and the proposal is, of course, corresponding to a topic, the coordinator will be prepared to work on the proposal and submit the proposal. Here you can see this is the screenshot of the coordinator profile of this electronic submission system. You can see on the top of the page in which, all the different steps and the specific step in which you are, create draft at this stage. And on the left side, you see additional information as the topic information, the deadline for the call closure. And this is the only place that you will be able to find and download the Part B of the proposal, which is the description of the action. So this is very important to know. When preparing your proposal, you may see two warnings. The first one is labeled as an error, and you have to really consider it, because otherwise you will not be able to finalize and submit the proposal. But the second one, which is just a warning, is not blocking, but you have to take into consideration the instructions that are given. We always advise, of course, to check the Horizon 2020 online manual that you can find in the portal, because, well, it gives a clear overview of all the steps that you need to follow during the preparation of the proposal. It's really easy to navigate. Here you can see a screenshot of the different steps in this navigation navigation tool. And also what is important is that you have also a brief description of the different tasks that you need to complete and how to complete the different tasks. Probably at this stage you may think that it's a bit obvious or pointless to remind you again not to wait until the very last minute to submit your proposal, but please bear in mind that we have experienced cases in which the proposal was submitted a few seconds after 5 p.m., which is the time for the call deadline. So, when making very last minute changes, you should consider this timing. After the call closure, after the 4th of September, what happens? Well, we, BBI, we will collect all the proposals and we will perform what is called admissibility and eligibility checks. These are internal checks that the BBI team perform. And these admissibility and eligibility criteria are some criteria that all the proposals need to fulfill. The admissibility criteria are these 4. The proposal should be submitted through the online submission system before the call deadline and has to be readable, accessible, and printable. The proposal needs to be complete, of course, with all the relevant documents and administrative forms that are required and specified in the call. At this stage, the proposal, and this is very important, needs to include a draft plan for exploitation and dissemination of the result, and the proposal needs to respect the page limit of 70 pages for RIA and IA, and 50 pages for CSA. Be careful, because you will be able to submit a proposal of 200 pages. But in order to have and to ensure a fair treatment of all the applicants, the experts are instructed to read and evaluate only in the case, for example, of an innovation action until page 70. So the rest is not considered. For the eligibility criteria, there are 2 main eligibility criteria that you have to consider. First, that the content of the proposal are in line with the topic description in the call. And I would like to make this warning here. If you are submitting more than one proposal for different topics, don't mix the different parts when submitting proposals for different topics. And well, also you need to comply with the standard eligibility criteria that my colleague Thomas was already presenting. After checking the admissibility and eligibility criteria, BBI will start evaluating the proposals. It's not BBI staff that evaluate the proposals. BBI is organizing the evaluations. The proposals are being evaluated following Horizon 2020 principles and rules by independent experts, and each proposal is evaluated by 4 to 5 experts. Also, the minimum is 3. We really make our best to secure and ensure a high quality during the evaluation process, and we aim at 4 or 5 experts per proposal. An important aspect for the evaluation of the proposal regarding the expert, all the experts need to declare the absence of conflict of interest. So, and we insist a lot at the BBI, because we check at the first stage, we check the absence of conflict of interest, and then the experts need to confirm this absence of conflict of interest. Once that this is confirmed, the expert will start working remotely, and they will perform their individual evaluations. And after the individual evaluation, following the Horizon 2020 evaluation criteria, they will gather in Brussels. They will meet, they will discuss, and they will agree on a consensus on the final score of the proposals. A special case is for Flagships. for which BBI JU organized hearings to support the whole evaluation process. So during the hearings, well, the coordinators will be informed. After the call closure, they will be informed in due time, and they will be invited to this hearing, to this meeting in Brussels. And they will have the opportunity to discuss with the experts on only two specific evaluation sub-criteria, which are the TRL and the business plan. So only let's say, question coming out of the context of the proposal around these two specific sub-criteria will be considered, and the coordinator will receive the questions in advance in order to be prepared. So it's not a surprise what they will find there during the meeting. In parallel with the central evaluation, BBI organized also the ethics evaluation. So we recruit independent ethics experts to ensure that all the proposals, because this is a very important aspect of the whole evaluation process, that all the proposals comply with Horizon 2020 ethics rules. And so please consider, before finalizing your proposal, have a double check, consider the ethic aspects, and in the part A, complete the ethics section. Once that the proposals are evaluated, the expert will prepare a first list of the possible proposals for funding, and the whole exercise will be finalized with the ranking list, with the proposals that are retained for funding. This list of proposals retained for funding needs to be approved, endorsed by the governing board. And once that the governing board has approved this list of proposals retained for funding, we will inform the applicants. Normally, according to this indicative calendar, we should inform the applicants by January 2020. But based on the previous experience, we normally try to inform in December, so right after the approval of the list by the governing board. Regarding the evaluation of the proposals, we follow the same principles. Horizon 2020, we follow the same scoring system. So proposals can have, there is a range in between 0 to 5, half points can be given also. A good proposal is considered with a 3, you have a good proposal, a very good with a 4, and a 5 with, an excellent with a 5. We have also 4 thresholds, 3 for each individual criteria, evaluation criteria, meaning for excellence and implementation, the threshold is 3. For the impact, the threshold is 4. And you have an additional threshold on the sum of the 3 individual scores, that is not 10, it's 11. So you have to comply with the 4 thresholds. And also be very mindful that for innovation actions, to determine the ranking, the ranking list, the final list, the score for the criterion impact will be given a weighting of 1.5. BBI is an industry-driven program. Impact is really important. Let me remind you what are the consequences of this competition within a budget line that Eleni was introducing when she was presenting the call budget. The call 2019 has 6 budget lines. A special case is for flagships, which is the only, let's say, type of actions that has 1 budget line for each topic. But for the rest of the topic, you will be competing with other topics. For the rest of the actions, you will be competing with the rest of the topics. So the consequence of this is that it can be the case that you are the only one submitting a proposal to a specific topic, but your proposal has to be really excellent because it will be competing with other topics, for example, of demo or of RIA actions. So high quality of the proposal are really essential. And the proposals that are retained for funding, the successful proposals, will be invited to start to prepare the grant agreement. The grant preparation of the grant agreement preparation is an online process, meaning it's supported by the portal, but we, as project officer, we have a strong interaction with the coordinator, and we really offer our support on this process. I would like to remind you here that, well, you need to be, when thinking about your proposal, you need to be realistic. You are credible, you are accountable for what you write in your proposal. And your agreement and the annexes should be the same as your proposal. There is this no-negotiation approach of Horizon 2020 that we follow in BBI JU. So please remember that what you write will be your contractual obligation and commitment. And it's important to know also that we have to respect a time frame. And the grant agreement, in this case, must be signed at the latest 8 months after the call deadline. That means around May. That can seem very far, but indeed there are many administrative and operational steps and aspects that should be fulfilled, and it really takes time. I would like to finalize on the grant agreement preparation with some tips to help you the grant agreement preparation to make it a smooth process. Based on the experience of these 5 years, if you are an SME, you've heard Philippe was already presented that we have high share of SMEs participating in BBI JU projects, so SMEs are really interested in BBI JU call. It's very important to check beforehand that indeed you are an SME according to the recommendation of the European Union, that is, I include the link, 2003. Why? Because if you are applying for a RIA and a CSA, it determines your funding rate. If you're not an SME, you will be entitled to zero funding. And this is not a nice surprise before signing the grant agreement. So use the available tools, the self-assessment tools that you have available in the portal. There is a wizard that is called the Sme Self-Assessment Wizard in the portal, and you can check the status, that you qualify as an SME following the European recommendation. Following the same principle, the financial viability check of the coordinator. Check in advance the financial viability health status of your coordinator, because your coordinator needs to have a good financial viability in order to be able to receive the pre-financing. If the coordinator is not able to receive the pre-financing, they will have to be removed as coordinator. They can take the role of a partner, and you will have to choose another coordinator with a good financial viability. And this is for all the financial viability is checked for all the beneficiaries that are receiving, for all the coordinators, sorry, that are receiving 750,000 euros, which is most of the cases in our proposal. They receive more than this amount. And the final recommendation on the consortium agreement. The consortium agreement has to be in place before the signature of the grant agreement. It has to be signed by all the partners. So start to discuss as soon as possible sensible issues as IPR and ownership of the results, because it can become really a blocking issue for the finalization and the signature of the grant agreement. The final step of this process is the signature of the consortium of the grant agreement. Everything is done electronically, and this signature, it's let's say the official proof that you, the coordinator representing the beneficiaries of your consortium and BBI, agree on the content of the grant agreement and the annexes. And this will be the very last step of the process. Everything will be done electronically. Normally, the coordinator signs first, and then will sign BBI. If you have relevant experience related to BBI, we would like to invite you to become a BBI JU evaluator. You've seen during the presentation of the annual work plan and different topics, the broad range of topics that BBI covers and the different aspects that should be considered from the technology point of view, from the business market uptake. So we really need quite diverse expertise, and because the proposals are very complex. So we want to improve always the quality during the evaluation, and we need different expertise. So the first batch of invitations have been already sent in April, but you can still have time to register and be invited, because the final list needs to be complete with some additional experts to be invited for the call 2019. So if you have not registered, or if you have not updated your profile, this is a long time, that can be also the case, please register and send an email with your expert candidature number to this email address. How to register? In the portal you will find this link. It's quite easy process to be in. And I really hope that this, well, not very probably interesting, not so much interesting as the previous presentation, but I hope really that now you have a more clear overview of the whole process from the submission of your proposal to the grant agreement. Good luck. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Paloma. It was very interesting and very important. So I hope you've all taken good note of all the steps Paloma walked you through. And now Polyvios will take over to give you some good tips and tricks in terms of writing a good proposal. So Polyvios, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Lenny. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is with great pleasure to have you here today. And I'm very glad to see a full house for the 5th year in a row. And let's be a little bit romantic now. A full house full of sparks and innovative ideas that are waiting to become fires, and also BBI successful proposals. Having an innovative idea is just the beginning of this journey. You should also commit to excellence. You should generate great impact for the society, environment, economy. But also, you should ensure efficient cooperation in order to properly implement the action. But not only because we, us as initiative, you as participant, cannot tackle all these challenges alone, but we need to team up in order to share the risk on the investments for research and innovation projects. This competition is tough with high quality proposals. Even if you think that you have a unique expertise under a specific topic, the success is not taken as granted. You will compete with many other proposals coming from different topics, and there you should present a structured proposal within the page limit, and every word counts. Therefore, you should be precise and consistent. The core task of the evaluations are performed by the independent experts, and BBI JU is not assessing the proposals. Our experts first check whether your proposal fits in the topic text. Only afterwards, they proceed with the assessment. How? Via the evaluation criteria. Excellence, impact, and implementation, which is the bridge between the topic text and your proposal. BBI JU is following the standard H2020 evaluation criteria. Once again, excellence, impact, and implementation, with some BBI JU specific ones, and are highlighted in blue here on this table. During my presentation, I will make a distinction between the different evaluation criteria and sub-criteria across the different type of actions, but due to the time constraint, I will focus only to the ones that generated the most of the questions during the last 5 years calls. Starting now with the excellence. The question to be addressed here is what? What is your idea? What is the innovative part of your idea? Here, the evaluation criteria of excellence is translated and break down in several evaluation sub-criteria, and I will start with the ones that are applicable to all type of actions. The first one is the clarity and pertinence of the objective. General and specific objectives of your proposal should be clear and structured. You can present these objectives either with a qualitative and, if applicable, on a quantitative manner. You can include a table where you can describe your specific objectives, the target values, and at which time they will be achieved. The same principle applies also to the pertinence of the objectives in relation to the topic text. You can include the specific challenges of the call, how you will address these challenges, and under which work package. Next evaluation sub-criterion is the soundness of the concept and the credibility of the proposed methodology. What is the concept? Is the big idea behind the proposal. If you would like to summarize your idea in one single line, what it would be? You can present your concept in a nutshell, for example, a diagram. You can give the possibility to the experts to have an overview of your idea, even through the very, very first reading of your proposal. What is a proposed methodology? It's how to go from the big idea to reaching the stated objective. It is important to read carefully the call introductory pages where you can find the strategic objectives of our call, the call 2019, which are derived from CIRA. The standard requirements table applicable for all type of actions. And last but not least, the topic text. All elements included in these three parts are equally important and should be addressed appropriately. For example, in the research, innovation actions, it's important to analyze potential hazards associated with the developed products and processes. It is also important to fully comply with the relevant EU legislations. If the analysis, a thorough analysis of potential hazards is not addressed or not sufficiently addressed, the proposal may receive low score or even score below the threshold. For RIAs and demos, it is important that you as applicants commit that during the time frame of the project, we will conduct an LCA analysis. How you will have to illustrate this commitment in the proposal through a specific task or an assigned work package. Now, the same principle applies for flagship. During the time frame of the project, a full assessment of the environmental, economic, and social impact of the developed products and processes is required. Once again, via specific task or an assigned work package. For research projects that are moving towards a demonstration level, it's important to include the economic viability performance check. You should include a value chain analysis, market analysis of the developed products and processes, pricing risks of the targeted bio-based products, and, if applicable, the social impact. If proposals will not, RIA proposals will not perform the economic viability performance check, it will be below threshold in excellence. Now we're moving to the evaluation sub-criterion on the state of the art and the innovation potential, which is applicable for the RIAs and innovation actions. Often our applicants are very enthusiastic, describing how their innovative idea is going beyond the state of the art. But they forget to mention what is the current state of the art. Our experts cannot make assumptions. They evaluate, they assess what they have in front of them. Therefore, you should justify your benchmark, and only after you can prove how you go beyond the state of the art. What are the benefits versus the existing state-of-the-art technologies? For example, in RIAs, you can include in a table what is the key technology that you will use in your proposal, in your future project, what is the state of the art, and what is the progress against the state of the art. It is also essential to include how you will see complementarities and build on existing projects from H2020 or even FP7, BBI, or even national ones, in order to avoid overlap of the activities. Last evaluation sub-criterion for the excellence is the coverage of the whole value chain, and this is applicable for innovation actions. Why innovation actions? Because are closer to the market. Why not in RIAs? Because RIAs are concentrated on a specific technological problem, which is a part of the value chain. If you would like to have something commercially viable, you should include all the stages and actors. For example, how you will get your biomass, how you will transport and transform it, and what will be your end product and market. If the value chain will not be comprehensively assessed and covered, the score will be below threshold in excellence. At this stage, you convince the experts that you have an innovative idea, but so what? What is the impact of this idea to the society and economy? Here, it is important to address the impact criterion efficiently and sufficiently. The impact became more and more important to the EU funding. My colleague Paloma already presented the thresholds. For impact is 4 out of 5 comparing to 3 for excellence and implementation. And on top of that, the weighting factor for innovation actions is 1.5. Let's start with the first evaluation sub-criterion applicable for all type of actions, which is the results of the projects versus the expected impact mentioned in the work plan. The question here to address yourselves, are all expected impacts listed in the topic text are addressed qualitatively and quantitatively? You should provide convincing evidence, but also this evidence should be based on calculations. Any other impact that might derive from your project and not mentioned in the topic text, even some negative ones, our experts can quickly spot the negative impacts of your proposal. Here is the time to be honest, present any negative impact, and convince the experts how you can minimize their effect. Following the previous year's approach, the BBI JU KPIs are an integral part of the expected impacts, are equally important and should be also addressed appropriately. You can describe explicitly how your proposal contributes to each listed expected impact, for example, via a table. The novelty of Call 2019, especially for RIAs and innovation actions, we make a distinction between the 4 different areas of expected impacts in order to make it even more clear to the applicants. The 4 areas are the BBI JU KPIs, environmental impacts, economic and social impacts. It is important to mention that even one single impact is not addressed, the proposal will be below threshold in impact. Moving now to the exploitation, dissemination, and communication, including the IPR and the research data management. The dissemination exploitation is more than an eligibility criterion, it's fully assessed during the evaluation. It is important here not necessarily to be innovative. The innovation has already been assessed during the excellence, but you shouldn't be generic. You should provide quantitative data. For example, how many conferences, publications, target audiences, how you selected the target audiences. It is also, if it's important, the communication for your project and for you, to include dedicated deliverables and public ones. You should also explicitly describe the IPR management. The experts will reward the proposals if they will share results with the bio-based industries, the public sector, research organizations, and consumers. More specifically, for innovation actions, consider to use bio-based materials for your dissemination activities. Our experts do not want generic communication plans that are reproduced from successful proposals. This is not a guarantee for success. They want to see the link of your proposal to the communication plan. Now, the evaluation sub-criterion that reflects the financial commitment for RIAs and innovation actions. My colleague Thomas has already presented thoroughly this part. I will not go through once again, but it's important here to conclude that the amounts you provide in the proposal regarding financial contributions, in-kind contributions, and additional investment should be fully justified. If you just throw amounts, the experts will not take them into consideration. Conclusion. The better demonstrated the financial commitment, the higher the likelihood for success and for impact maximization of the action. This is very important because it's an industry-driven program. Now we move to the implementation criterion. You have convinced the experts that you have an innovative idea with a superb impact, but how this will be implemented? This is the time to convince the experts that you can undertake all the activities that you included in the previous sections. First, evaluation sub-criterion is the quality and the effectiveness of the work plan. You should present a solid work plan with coherence in the timing along the work packages, for example, via a Gantt chart. The duration of your project should be realistic. In H2020, extension of the time frame of the project is not taken as granted and is not automatically. In many cases, this type of requests have been rejected. This is important to take it into consideration in advance. You should provide detailed analysis of the work description, of the resources allocated to all work packages, and these resources should be in line with the objectives and deliverables. Important to check the coherence of the budget allocation and timing throughout the proposal. We received several proposals where there is inconsistency between the timing of the deliverable list and the Gantt chart. As it has been already mentioned, experts cannot make assumptions, so this part, if this will be the case, it will be reflected with a lower score. The budget allocation of the participants should be aligned with the specific tasks. You should convince the experts evaluators that the consortium members have a specific role. If one participant disappears with its task, can the project be successfully implemented? If yes, this is how we call the phantom beneficiaries, and this should be avoided. If, for example, one project receives 5 million euro and you have a beneficiary with 50,000 euro grant and generic task, I'm convinced that the experts will not be convinced that this participant has a specific role, and here the experts will give a lower score. The management structures and procedures, including the risk management, is also part of the evaluation sub-criteria and it's applicable to all type of actions. Different management structures need to work. We understand that a consortium of 5 or 20 members will apply different techniques, management techniques. Here the important part is to be practical. It's not necessary to be innovative, but practical. These structures should work, be effective and efficient. Regarding the risk management, it's essential to identify risks and appropriate mitigation measure for core risk. You should explicitly describe them, mention them in certain cases, and scale them from low to high. Our experts can easily spot if you avoid on purpose core risk in the risk management plan. We expect to see universal risk. For example, slow or insufficient communication between the project management and the consortium. But we should see project-specific risks related to the technology upscale and the biomass supply. It will be unfortunate for a potentially great work plan to receive lower score because of this issue. Once again, should be honest and include core risks and convince the experts with appropriate mitigation measures. Now we're moving to the soundness of the business case and business plan, which is applicable for the innovation action. Why? Because innovation actions are closer to the market. You can check in our guide for applicants what is considered BBI JU business case and business plan. It is important also to integrate here the primary biomass producers' remuneration. If not, include this specific element, the business case and business plan will not be considered as sound. Therefore, there is also a possibility to receive below threshold score. How much information you can include? As much as you want. The business case and business plan is outside of the 70-page limit of the innovation actions, and you can include it to the optional annexes in the section 4.5. We understand also that the business case and business plan includes sensitive commercial data. Therefore, for flagships, this point will be under clarification during the hearings. Last evaluation sub-criterion for the implementation is the readiness of the technology, which is also applicable for innovation actions. You should include clearly the starting and end TRLs of your key technologies. And you should also convince the experts that these technologies will be achieved during the project timeframe. For flagship, it is important to demonstrate by the call deadline that you are operating relative demonstration scale plants at a significant production capacity. During the last year's calls, and especially for the call 2018, several proposals failed because they haven't clearly stated the starting or end TRL. In addition, in certain cases, they were not realistic to reach the expected TRL at the end of the project. You can include in a table the key technology of your project, the starting TRL, and the end TRL that should be within the time frame of the project. Once again, this point will be under clarification during the hearing process. Regarding the hearings, Paloma already told you that the coordinators will receive more information and practical information after the call submission deadline. Before moving towards the end of my presentation, I would like to share with you the importance of the implementation criterion and how it can play a significant role for the final score. Here in the table, you can see the average scores along the 3 evaluation criteria between the proposals invited to the grant agreement preparation and the proposal in the reserve list, first and second column. The first noticeable thing here, the first noticeable aspect, is that the implementation criterion for the call 2017 had the biggest difference between the two groups of the proposals, the ones invited in GAP and the one in the reserve list, 4.91 and 4.1. This high jump, the biggest jump, was very well received as a message from the applicants of call 2018. They put more effort, and you can see that the average score of implementation in call 2018 in the reserve list proposal was 4.5, which is a relative high average score for proposals in the reserve list. The specific evaluation criterion for the proposals in the main list received the lowest score, 4.71, comparing to the other three evaluation criteria. The second message here, even for the proposals in the main list, there is a significant margin for improvement in order to secure even better their position in the main list. I consider the implementation criterion relatively straightforward comparing to the one of excellence and impact. Do not underestimate it. You should pay special attention, devote appropriate time in order to prepare a solid implementation plan. Do not stay last minute before the call submission deadline and at the same time before holidays, summer holidays. Because simply in implementation there is room for improvement. How you can write a good proposal? This is a very interesting question, but not a tricky one. I would rather say it's a very straightforward question if you include all the elements and ensure that you explicitly address all the specific challenges and requirements of the call. Why? Give to our experts all information to assess against the evaluation criteria. Read the call introductory pages, the standard requirements for each type of action, the topic text. Be aware of the evaluation sub-criteria and use the proposal structure and template described in the guide for applicants. Our experts, evaluators, are instructed not to disregard a single element from the topic text, the call introductory pages, and the standard requirements table applicable for all types of actions. Here you can see the experts' assessment template. I make it available for you. And on the left side, the first column, we include the general questions that I have already provided to you during my presentation, the breakdown of the topic text and the standard requirements per evaluation sub-criterion. Create also your own checklist. Follow the same approach in order not to miss a single element. Welcome back to school, the BBI school. You have a lot of information, a lot of source of information to read. All the relevant links are in our website, in the call dedicated area, but also in the tenders and funding opportunity portal. But if you have any question, please send us an email to the info@bbi.europa.eu and we'll come back to you as soon as possible. As I have already mentioned, the innovative ideas is just the beginning of this journey. You should go through the excellence, impact, and implementation in order to be a BBI successful proposal and eventually a BBI successful project that will contribute to the bio-based industries in Europe. Good luck and let the best win. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Polyvius. I think the presentation should not have left any doubts in your minds about how to prepare a good and successful proposal. I would like to invite to the podium and welcome actually our long-term collaborator, Mome, who will talk about the BBI JU partnering platform, which is a key tool for all of your interactions this afternoon. Thank you very much, Mome.
Now is it working? Yeah. Good. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very pleased to present you BBI Partnering in a few minutes and to give you an overview about the networking session in the afternoon. BBI Partnering is the networking system for the biodiversity community. BBI Partnering has been launched in 2015 to support the European stakeholders in the construction of consortia projects for the annual BBI calls. Therefore, it has been designed to facilitate the identification of possible consortia partners and to actually network with them around the annual calls. BBI Partnering is an online service available throughout the full year. In the period of open calls, it presents you the call topics from the current work plan and informs you about which stakeholders are interested in what specific topics. BBI Partnering offers you detailed member profiles which inform you about the members' activities and about the networking aims in the different value chains and the different strategic orientations. Also, you find the consortia project and ideas for the individual topics of the current work plan. On the other hand, BBI Partnering enables you to present your activities, your networking aims, and your interest for specific topics and project ideas. Within BBI Partnering, a specific focus has been given to the annual BBI Info Days today. The registered attendees, you, can view the catalogue of attendees, view detailed member profiles, and organize personal meetings with the consortia candidates already prior to the event. Since its creation in 2015, more than 3,000 individual stakeholders have been using BBI Partnering. The opening of calls and the associated BBI Info Days always trigger a big number of stakeholder organizations to register and to publish new profiles and new consortia offers and ideas. There have been made 500 profiles updates recently, including 300 new profiles in the opening of BBI Call 2019. The members are coming from more than 20 countries and they represent a wide variety of organizations: research organizations and universities, industry and SME, and specialized service companies. They cover all the different value chains and strategic orientations defined by the CERA. In the last weeks, more than 600 individual member organizations updated their profiles and inform us about the topics they're interested in. Around 200 attendees of this meeting here today already updated their selections for the current call 2019. Around 150 detailed cooperation offers for the call 2019 have been published by the attendees. In regard to the call 2019, the BBI stakeholders in general are now starting to look for consortia partners. They inform you about the type of actions and the specific topics they're interested in. For these members and attendees, you can see what are their interests, what they are looking for, and what type of expertises or resources they are offering or requesting to build a competitive consortia project. These offers cover all the different type of actions, strategic orientations, and all the individual topics 2019. And more offers are being published day by day. So yes, now is definitely the time that you update your profile and that you inform the other stakeholders about the topics you're interested in. For you, the attendees of this BBI Info Day, the partnering section offers you a dedicated page, BBI Info Day 2019. This section presents all the relevant information about the activities of today, the attendees registered, and their preferred topics and their networking offers. Within the section, you can view the attendees' profiles and learn more about their activities and networking aims. You can view in which topics the individual attendees are interested in, and you can create your personal list of favorites to facilitate your networking activities. You can contact your consortia candidates by messages or send them a meeting invitation for the networking session in the afternoon. Your meeting agenda with your personal meetings agreed with other attendees is organized by the platform directly and presents you the meeting time and the meeting location. In the last 4 weeks, more than 400 attendees of the BBI Info Day today have accessed BBI Partnering to learn more about the program, the activities, the attendees, and to update their member profile and their topic preferences. In the last 4 weeks, 250 attendees have used BBI Partnering to pre-schedule personal meetings with their networking candidates and to organize their agenda in the networking session. They selected their meeting candidates and addressed via BBI Partnering their personal meeting invitation. The resulting meetings have been scheduled via the platform, and the agendas of the attendees have been prepared and published. This activity allowed us already to pre-schedule more than 800 personal meetings for the networking session in the afternoon. Right now, more than 700 meeting invitations remain pending, waiting for your acceptance or declination by you. So now, how is this happening here on site today? Meetings are scheduled in the afternoon from 2 to 5 p.m. Meetings are scheduled for 15 minutes each. In respect to your personal agenda, please take care to arrive in time and to finish your discussion in time. You might have scheduled several meetings in a row, and you wouldn't like to miss one. And also other attendees might wait to access the same meeting point. The meeting points are defined by numbers, and there exist 69 different meeting points. We recommend that you send your meeting invitations or accept your incoming meeting invitations until 2:30. This would enable us to schedule your meetings and to inform you and your meeting partners about the time and the meeting point. Again, your meeting agenda is up to date all the time. Please check it regularly, and especially for last time around 3:30 for new meetings eventually scheduled. If you need more help, please don't hesitate to come to meet me outside in the lobby. Thank you and enjoy your meetings.
Thank you very much, Mohamed. Thank you very much to all the speakers, and I would like to say thank you as well to Marta Campos, our legal manager, who's joining us on the panel, and Dirk Carré, from Executive Director of BIC, who's also joining us for the Q&A session. I understand that we are now the bottleneck between yourselves and the lunch and your networking, but I think if you have any questions, there is time to take them, so I open the floor to the audience. Is there something in the back? Yes, I think the microphone will. You have a microphone in front of you.
Yes, hello. My name is Maria Andriello. I work for Bioeconomy, a Swiss chemical SME. I have a question for Mr. Polyvius Haziyangu. I'm particularly interested in the business plan, which is quite a vague area for us. Especially in projects where the whole value chain is involved. For example, we have the biomass producers, then we have the processing companies who process the biomass and get multiple products from it, if we want to make use of the biorefinery concept. And then we have multiple application areas, so we have brand owners and retailers involved. The first question is, how extended should the business plan be? Should it concern all the intermediate products and all the application areas? And the second question is there a specific template provided by the EC, or is it just a text, or can we use a template of our own? Thank you.
Thank you very much for your question. I understand that you're referring to innovation actions, since you're covering the full value chain. Therefore, the business case and business plan should be included also as part of the main pages, the 70 pages in your proposal, addressing all the elements that you can find in the guide for applicants. So, in the specific section in the guide for applicants, we have in bullet points, just to be practical, what is a BBI JU business case and business plan. But you can include also hundreds of pages. The experts are instructed to read thoroughly all pages of the business case and business plan, and that's why we took them out of the main proposal page limit. If you're interested in Flagship, for example, this will be, as I have already mentioned, part of the hearing. And even if you will not include everything, but you were able to convince the experts, this is the important part here. With the information that you will provide, covering the full value chain, you should be able to convince the experts about the soundness of your business case and business plan. If the experts will have additional questions, and this will be based on clarifications only, then it will be part of the hearing for flagships, but not for demos. Demos have the only chance to convince the experts based on the submitted proposal. I hope that this clarifies your question.
Any other questions from the audience? We have received quite a few questions online, I should say, that require some clarification on the topic text. And I would like to remind you all that our big colleagues have a booth outside today and will be able to address those questions. So please go and visit our booth. You can also address more specific questions to us at the info@bbi.europa.eu, as mentioned during other presentations. I'm very mindful of the time, so if there are no more urgent questions, I would like to... Oh, there is one. Thank you very much. Yes?
Yulia Matskevich, Brunel. I'm sorry, I have a comment about partnering platform. Though it's a great idea, but I think functionality still needs some improvement. Because I, for example, have meetings which were agreed 3 or 4 days ago, and they are still unscheduled. So I suppose I'm not going to meet them.
Thank you for that, Momet. You should try to speak with the lady and we'll follow up. Thank you very much. There's always room for improvement. A point well taken. Thank you. Sorry? We have, oh yes, I am being alerted by my colleagues that we have reached full capacity, indeed. So that may be also, I mean, we have become the bottleneck of our success, I should say. But thank you very much for your comment, and we'll do our best to improve in the future. So if there are no further questions, of course, all of my colleagues and our big colleagues will be around to take your questions during the breaks. Before you leave the room, I would like to thank you. I would like to actually remind you all to please take your belongings with you, because at 2 o'clock sharp, the partnering meetings will start and they will take place in this room. So it is important to take your belongings with you so that we can organize the meeting. I would like to thank you very much, the audience here. I would like to thank the audience online. We had more than 1,300 participants watching us, so good work, and thanks to all of you. And I would like to close by saying, I would like to thank not only my team, but my colleagues from admin and finance. Please stand up. They are the ones who keep us on our toes. So please, thanks to all of you for the great work as well. So thanks to you all for a successful morning session, and best of luck for the afternoon.